Welcome to Botches.
Welcome to Botches.
Bro, get out of here. This is my intro. Welcome to...
I was just going to copy you.
Welcome to Botches Offroad.
Botches Offroad.
Creepypasta?
Creepypasta.
I wish that actually shows up recording like it did for you. From my viewpoint, you both were talking at the same exact time.
Oh yeah, I was trying to time it.
They'll hear it. They will hear that.
We're gonna harmonize. It's good. It's like Brooks and Dunn over here.
You know what? That's what we should do. We should do an episode where all three of us say "Welcome to Botches Offroad" at the same time.
Acapella style. Welcome.
I want to redo our intro again. I don't like the shortened "Welcome to Botches Offroad." We need to have it again, but not what we had. I'll work it. I'll mold this out. I'll get it figured out.
I'm acapella style. We'll do welcome to Botches Offroad,
right.
And then yeah, I got it. We got it. I got the plan.
We'll work this out, and then we'll record it, and then just throw it at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah.
I need singers. That's what I need.
So, who's got our first story? I got 2. Gavin's got a couple.
Yep.
Mark's got 0.
Yep.
He failed. He failed class, so he got an F for effort, as they say.
I thought it was an E.
So no. Yeah, that's the point.
Sorry, I had to put 40 hours in. I had to put 40 hours in so I can have a 4-day weekend.
It takes less time. No. Just say you could find something while you're on the toilet. Let's just say that. Because I was going to say something else, but we got to keep it PG.
Oh no, totally
keep PG 13
totally
around here.
After I masturbated, it was easier to find creepy stories. I will admit.
I'm just saying, in the time it would take you to do that, you could have already had at least one. Anyway. So, for anybody who doesn't know...
What?
Real quick. Sad part is, I don't think I did it this week, but there has been weeks where I literally watched horror stories from camping and stuff on YouTube, so...
Could have just quoted one of them out. I
know.
But, yeah. That's okay. But, anyway, for anybody who isn't familiar with the Creepypasta stories, we've only done one before, and if you're a newer listener... basically what it is we search through Reddit, any other forums that we could find for creepy camping, overlanding stories. Whether they're true or not, we don't know. That's up to you, whether you want to believe whatever they say. Admittedly, a lot of these are human related, which is sometimes the scariest thing that's out there. So, So you might hear some of that, and these aren't tales to scare you away from going, but maybe they're cautionary tales, things that'll make you open your ears or eyes, make you think about where you're at, what you're doing, trust your senses, trust your gut. I don't know about these guys, but there have been times where I've camped somewhere and it's gotten abnormally dark, which they say... or not abnormally dark, I mean silent, which they say is like the sign that a predator's nearby. And I trust my gut in those situations. When it gets very, very quiet, you can't hear a stick break, you don't hear birds, you don't hear scurrying in the woods, and you just get that weird, eerie feeling. Those are the times where I trust my gut and go, you know what, I don't like this spot, let's move to a different spot. And it's okay to feel that. That's, your ancestors talking to you from the beyond saying, hey, you might want to boot scoop boogie out of there. So without further ado, with that in mind, we're going to start on the first story, and I will start first, and then we'll let Alex go. Let's see. Here we go. I'm sorry, I had to move my menus. All right, this one's from Brilliant Nothing 2151, and it was a little over a year ago. And having some ding dong pull up 6 feet away from me at 2 a.m. to listen to tunes by the lake. It took a few threats and arguing to get him to leave. Fairly sure he booby-trapped the road because I had a bunch of flats from screws on the way out. So, like, yeah, that's a quick one. It's not really that scary, but it could fuck you over. So you be careful how we talk to people. You know, even if that guy was being the rude person, maybe you didn't have an altercation then, but that's not unheard of. Even, you know, having spares is good anyway. There's a lot of tree huggers out there that have spiked wood and thrown them in logging trails for loggers and overlanders, off-roaders and stuff. They end up catching that. So just another reason why you need to have spares and be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. So this one is from the ultimatesubaru.org forum from a guy named Muddock. This is at least a 16-year-old story. When I lived in Colorado, I was going down a slick snow and ice-covered trail in the dark. We took the wrong fork, not realizing it until it hit a dead end. I started to back out, and the car started to slide off to the right. Well, that's where it all went to hell, in a hurry. She kept sliding down until the pass. Side rocker came to rest off on a good-sized rock. If it wasn't for that rock, I wouldn't be typing this, as the car would have rolled a few hundred feet down into the trees. The thing was sitting at such an angle, the driver's side tires were about completely unloaded. When I walked around the back of the car, I slid on some ice and started sliding down the hill. I didn't stop until I hit a rock with my head. From what my girlfriend told me, I was out for 5 to 10 minutes. Anyway, I came to and wrapped my head with an old towel, and we hiked on out of there, where I called for a friend to come get us and take me to the hospital. 12 hours, a concussion, and 25 stitches later, we went to recover the car. We had a couple of straps and a half-ton Ford, which didn't even budge the car. After some more thinking and planning, we got my pickup and another friend's Jeep, along with a come-along and a few log chains straps to recover the car. With the come-along, I anchored the front of the car to a tree to prevent it from sliding anymore, and hooked a log chain to the rear and ran it up and around a tree to get pulled at a right angle. We had all 3 trucks hooked in a train to pull the car up and out. I wish I had taken pictures of all this, but pictures were the last thing on my mind. I was more worried that someone might come along and do some heavy damage to the car, or worse, get it rolling over down the hillside. I still have this car, and it's currently my daily driver, and has been for the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's scary, dude. Yeah. That's like one of the biggest one of the scares of doing like switchback style roads over there. That's rough. Let's see. I got one from Raptor01, and it says 3 a.m. sound asleep, and what sounded like a muscle car or old pickup truck pulls into the camp area. Not a rare occurrence for someone to come and try and camp where we camp, but this guy sits here for 10 minutes with the headlights on our tents. Again, we had guns, but situations like this make you feel real vulnerable when you're inside of a tent. I was about to sneak out the back of the tent away from the headlights when they finally left. The next day, a forest ranger came to our camp asking if we'd seen anything suspicious. We told him about it, and he wrote it down. He wouldn't tell us what was going on, but it was weirdly coincidental that a random forest ranger would ask us this question after what we had happened just a few hours earlier.
Turns out the forest ranger was a serial killer, and he was just finding out if they had actually noticed him.
Yeah, I wonder if that guy was going... I've heard stories about people going to different camps to see what they could grab, hoping that they were unoccupied. Maybe with the headlights on the tent, he could see through there and see people were moving. Yeah, that's just scary. Like I said, people are some of the scariest things that are out there.
Yeah.
You got another one, Alex? You want me to do another
one? No, I got
one?
another one. This, not a camping story, but terrifying all the same. I wasn't camping at the time. I was on a boat at night, a few hundred feet offshore in Muskegon. In the distance, I started to hear what sounded like a man screaming, like an absolutely horrifying scream, the word help. Like, imagine some man was being actively eaten alive by a shark or something. That's what this yell sounded like. I'd hear it and then nothing for 20 seconds. Then hear it again. Heard it for like 10 minutes and nothing else beside the word help. Couldn't see anything, had the spotlight out, had no way of really being able to tell exactly what direction it was coming from. Shouting back at it didn't really seem to change anything. Had no radio or phone or anything, so there wasn't anything I could do. And to this day, I'm still not even sure if what I heard was real or just in my head. Or I was mistaken by an animal sound or something. No idea. I reported it to the harbor master when I got to shore, but I didn't think anything ever came of it. There was never anything in the news about any deaths or missing people in the area, so I truly have no idea what this absolutely god-awful, terrifying scream for help sound was, or if it even happened at all. So, 1, he says this happened in Muskegon and there were no deaths or missing person. I call bullshit because someone's dying in Muskegon every night. But they're always explained, someone got shot. Yeah, Muskegon Heights, normal gang activity.
Yeah, maybe that's what he means. It's like nothing regarding his area or whatever circumstance.
But what's crazy is that someone commented and said, I've experienced something very similar when I was living out by the lake. Our house was basically on the edge of the shore, and I was walking up the stairs on the dock, and I hear screaming. Hearing like, help, my arm, there's so much blood. It sounded like 2 young girls. There was a lot of people in our neighborhood that would just climb down these cliffs. They're talking, the part, I think, they don't say where, but based on context, I'm thinking it's up north a little bit, kind of by the dunes where there's just like big cliffs going down to the lake.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any noise after that. I can't remember how I found out they didn't exist, but I distinctly remember having the thought of, wow, that didn't really happen. I can't remember if I went down to check, I look over the dock, or while we were on the boat later that day, no evidence. Sorry if the details are a little fuzzy. This was easily over 15 years ago.
I've heard this story multiple times coming to water, Michigan, and surrounding areas. There was actually one I heard a couple months ago that was very similar to this. This guy was on an inland lake, though, and he saw something in the woods, and it said the same damn thing. Help, help, screaming. And what creeped him out was that he ended up seeing something, and it was like trying to hide from him. Like it wasn't something that was like coming out to the side of the lake screaming, but it was something that was yelling that, but not showing, like showing itself. So it could have been, an owl, but it's pretty easy to determine an owl from someone screaming help, right? So like, but yeah, I've heard this story a lot, and it usually involves some body of water. But if we were to just take the cryptid side for a second, I'm a believer of cryptids. I kind of believe in everything until proven otherwise. Like you'd have to just, like literally, I don't know what it would take for someone to say, yep, see, here's the proof, they don't exist. I believe in everything, so. But it's like Wendigos, which are the northern version of like a skinwalker. They have been known to mimic. There's a lot of mimicking cryptids, especially in Michigan. There's a lot of like Dogman could be linked to a Wendigo. But a lot of mimicking cryptids that do that on purpose to lure you away from civilization, from your car, from whatever, to go help. And then you just go missing. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Who knows? There's a lot of stories that revolve around that. In the north, down in the Navajo areas, down south, a lot of mimicry to lure people out. So I don't ever trust it. Like, I'd have to see it with my own eyes, and I don't know if I'm not saying I'd leave someone out to die, but I'd really have to be sure that there was someone out there. And if I wasn't packing and I didn't see him, I probably wouldn't go.
It would almost have to be someone I know, and they would have to have been there, right? Like, I couldn't just be out in the woods alone and suddenly hear Mark screaming for help and go help him. Like,
yeah. So there's a lot of stories behind that too, to where they mimic people from who knows how this happens or how they do it, but they mimic people from your memories or something like that. So it's like you hear some of the most dearest people in your life, your mother, your sister, your best friend. Your best friend will be walking 45 minutes behind you. Maybe you guys are hiking and he's just fallen behind quite a bit and you guys are going to meet up at a point. This happens quite a bit when people have different paces. For some reason, you hear your best friend or whatever ahead of you on the path. That's why they always tell you to stick on the path. Because you go off path, you could get lost, something will lure you farther out. Lots of stories around that. So anyway, we'll go to mine. It's by Minus the Leela. This is 8 years ago. Went on a group camping trip in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, only to awake and hear something sniffing outside of our tent. My immediate reaction was that it was likely a bear or some animal we came across on our site, and just maybe my dumbass friends didn't tie up their garbage. Seconds later, I hear the sniffing, go to the tent next to ours, and then everyone in mine grabs another quietly to acknowledge we were all awake and we were all aware of what was happening outside. Moments later, a friend in another tent popped out and started to scream and make noise. He also had a gun too, hoping it would scare off whatever animal that was in our sight. Turns out it wasn't an animal. It was some guy who had come along to our campsite, went through our coolers and food, and also decided it'd be okay to sniff our tents. Our friends chased him off, and we immediately packed our shit and left. That's fucking scary. The fact that he sniffed the tents is what's scary.
Right.
Yeah.
So he got chased off. Arizona, skinwalker territory.
100%.
I'm just going to be devil's advocate on all of this. That could have been a skinwalker, because creepy people go through your shit. I get it. But sniffing your tent, I don't know. I feel like he was smelling people out. I don't know.
I do it.
All right, you got another one?
So, a lot of mine are kind of nautical. I'm a big fan of Michigan lake ghost stories, so that kind of goes with the territory of me. So this one, there are other stories very similar to this one, so it's believable, but it's such a high profile sinking that I also see where someone could make this up, but I'll read it anyway. I was talking to my uncle, who's a retired sailor, and he told me a story that I felt was perfect for the subreddit. This is from someone named Unknown. I'm assuming that during the Reddit purge, they deleted their account, but their comments and stuff are still around. My uncle used to work on board the Great Lakes freighter, the SS Arthur M. Anderson, and they would haul iron ore and limestone across the Great Lakes. One day, at around 7 p.m., in November, they were crossing Lake Superior on their way to Cleveland, Ohio, when they started receiving distress calls on the radio from an unknown vessel claiming to be the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. The Edmund Fitzgerald famously sank in 1975, taking all 29 crewmen with it. Well, he said at first they all thought it was some kind of distasteful prank, until he checked the radar and found that there were no other ships around for at least 70 nautical miles, and the range on the radios are only about 60 nautical miles. He said that the voice they heard from the radio described a heavy storm and high winds, and that they were having a hard time holding their own. My uncle said you could hear true fear in the man's voice coming from over the radio, but the thing was, there was no storm. In fact, the water was calm and the night was clear. At around 8 p.m., my uncle described the distress calls on the radio as coming to an abrupt stop, leaving the whole room in a terrifying silence. and the radio stayed quiet for the rest of the night. Nobody was able to sleep that night, haunted by what they had witnessed. When it comes down to it, there's a sense of irony in this event, being as not only is the ship my uncle was on, the SF Arthur M. Anderson, the sister ship to the Edmund Fitzgerald, but it's also the last ship to make contact with the Fitzgerald in 1975 when she sank. Could my uncles and his shipmates have actually made contact with the ghosts of the crew of the Fitzgerald? Or could there be another explanation to this event? We'll never know, but it made one of the creepiest stories I've ever heard. So, the crazy thing about that is that there's actually other reported stories of the Anderson getting calls from the Fitzgerald starting in about 1988, 1989 time frame. So, well after the Fitzgerald had sank. But that's not the only ship that gets calls from its sister ship that sank. Because the Queen Mary? The Olympic. The Olympic, every time that it passed near the spot that the Titanic went down, it would receive contact from the Titanic.
Yeah. I was going to say that too. I was going to add on to that. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Kind of like the residual hauntings. Nobody will really answer. A lot, at least in most of these cases, they don't answer, but they say the same things. So what Alex described, at least what this person described them saying, really bad waters, they weren't answering anything back by the sounds of the story. They were just describing exactly what the ship had said that they recorded.
Yep.
Before it went down. So what it sounds like, if you believe in it, is residual haunting. It's a memory basically left over.
Yeah.
And it just recounts the memory. But it's super cool. I would love to hear something like that. Scary, but I'd be super cool. Like, you know what I mean? To actually hear the voices, the whole phenomena happen.
There was another story kind of similar, where they actually talked to the other crew and were pinpointing where they were, and then realized that the ship wasn't located, and then they asked them, "What's your ship name?" And they said the name, and it was a ship that had sank 10 years earlier. So this stuff happens, dude. Like, there's no way it doesn't. Yeah. Not when you've got so many recorded stories. Like, the RMS Olympic would supposedly, I'm not going to say it 100% happened, but again, you report so many stories, and it's kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah. Yeah, things stop becoming a coincidence after a while. So, let's see. I got one from Our Paranormal from Mary Beth. It was 2 months ago. My husband, 33, and I, 34, are avid campers. Rain or shine, snow or ice, we go camping all across year-round in Ontario. For the most part, it's always an incredibly relaxing and fun time. We do have our favorite parks, but always look to explore new ones. A few years ago, we heard about a little campground a few hours north where we live and decided to go check it out over the Labor Day weekend, and then going into the following week. Personally, Labor Day weekend is the best to go out. If you could take the time, the parks are typically busy during the actual weekend, but because it's the last day of summer, they completely empty out on Monday or Tuesday because the families are going back to work and school. Another plus is that typically the farther the park, the less busy it will be, because people who live in the city don't normally drive up that far for a couple of days, at least in our experience. So we get to the park. Not only is it beautiful, but as we suspected, it was quite empty. There were only a couple other families there on the first day we arrived. Unfortunately, the weather on the first night ended up not being the best, and after a night of rain, we saw the other campers packing up and leaving. We went for a walk and very quickly noticed that we had the entire place to ourselves. Legit, it was empty aside from us. For the next couple of nights, we did our normal activities of exploring, cooking, and playing board games, etc. On what turned out to be our last night, the rain came back and it was really heavy. We decided to stick it out and just hang around at our site. As it was getting later, I couldn't help but get an eerie feeling, but brushed it off because it was dark and rainy, and we were alone in a thunderstorm that was coming in. After dinner, we decided we'd head up to bed early. We cleaned up our dishes, put away our food, and retired into our tent. The reason I say this is to highlight that there was no food or dishes left out as to not attract any animals. By that time, the thunder was really loud, the lightning had started. Despite all the weather, we had somehow been able to fall asleep. I'm not sure what time, but at some point I ended up waking up in the middle of the night. The thunder was dying down and the lightning was so close and intense that every time it clashed, it would light up our site, and I could see shadows of the trees, the picnic table, etc. outside through the tent. I remember laying there for a few moments, just watching, and turned to my husband, who was sleeping beside me completely unbothered. After a few moments, the eerie feeling came back, and at an overwhelmingly intense rate, I started getting super spooked, but I realized I couldn't really move. As I started to internally panic, that was when not only did I hear, but I saw something moving moving around the outside of the tent. At first, I couldn't believe it, but as the lightning kept lighting the site up, 1,000,000% there was a large bipedal creature moving around outside of our tent on the site. I couldn't move. All I could do was watch as it crept closer and closer to our tent door. From what it looked like through the shadow, it was a humanoid figure, much taller than a person with a larger head. Terrified, I just watched as who or whatever this thing was started coming into our tent. But it didn't open the tent, rather just came through it. At that point, I must have blacked out due to fear, because when I woke up, it was the morning and my husband was cooking food. To say that I was freaked out was an understatement. We had probably camped at least 50 times by this point and never experienced anything like this before. I told my husband, and he kind of brushed it off pretty quickly, saying I most likely had a bad dream. Now, I do get sleep paralysis, so maybe, but I never experienced it vividly before and never experienced it while camping. It was so incredibly real that the fact that I could move around at first was very different from any experience I've had in the past, where I'd essentially wake up paralyzed. Anyways, because I was extremely freaked out and I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling, we started packing up and decided to leave that day. A few months later, I randomly brought this story up to him as I was explaining what I had experienced. He then confessed to me that he had lied to me that morning. As per him, that night he had also woken up at some point and saw the person-like figure creeping outside the tent. He assumed that he was just having a bad dream, but he too felt very uneasy in the morning and didn't want to say anything to me, as he didn't want me to freak out. He told me when I then got up and shared I saw it too, that it validated him that he wasn't dreaming. Neither one of us checked out that site for footprints or anything, as we both kind of thought it was a bad dream. But because of the heavy rain, I don't think we would have been able to see anything anyways. We still go camping, but that was one of the two most scariest experiences I've ever had in Ontario Park. We've talked about it since, still have no idea what it was. Was there a person lurking around? Was it something paranormal? Did we both just have the same shared sleep paralysis episode? When I think back to the visual of this thing, it almost seemed unearthly, maybe alien. Especially how it seemed to glide through and into/onto our tent. No idea, but I thought I would share to hear others' thoughts or similar experiences.
That is, oh my god, sleep paralysis type stories, especially camping, freak me the fuck out, dude.
Yeah, and so she says that she's had it before, but because she could move around,
Yeah.
she doesn't believe that this is one of those episodes. And so that thing, as I read it, she said that it seemed to come into the tent, but not through the tent. And I almost wonder if it just something pressed up against the tent and started putting its, like body weight onto it, so it made that impression on the inside of the tent, and that's when she blacked out. I don't know. That shit is super creepy though. And I
have I ever told you the story of the redheaded lady?
No.
All right. So this would have been like 2019. My father-in-law took us and my brother-in-law's family up to Tippy Dam to do some fishing, and he'd rented these little cabins. And we were up there for like 3 nights, and the first 2 nights, perfectly fine, right? Nice, beautiful cabins, beautiful location. I mean, the place is awesome. But that third night, I was laying in bed, and I could not sleep to save my life. Every time I'd close my eyes, I'd get this image of just this woman with red hair sitting at the end of the bed. So I constantly had my eyes open, and at some point in the night, it went from, it didn't matter if my eyes were open or closed, I could see her at the end of the bed. Then, I finally got to a point where I felt like I could go to sleep, but every dream, because I have very vivid dreams to begin with, but one point, I had a dream that I was in Arizona doing something with my old roommate. The redhead lady was there chasing us, trying to kill us. So I woke up from that dream, went back to sleep, had another dream that we were in the cabin, running from the redheaded lady as she screamed and cussed us out. Then I woke up from that dream and had a dream of a alternate version of the cabin where I was the redheaded lady and somebody was chasing me to kill me. And I mean, this went on all night, dude. Just the most ridiculous dreams, but every single time it involved this redheaded lady. Then, at some point, this is the last bit I remember of it, I had woken up and I was laying there and she was in my face, just breathing really heavy. And I remember thinking how bad her breath smelled. And now I couldn't move. The rest of it, I could move and roll over and stuff. But at this point, I couldn't move anymore. And I could feel her putting her hands on my chest. And then all of a sudden, I fell asleep and Kaylin woke me up what felt like 2 minutes later because it was time to get ready to go home. And that whole night, dude, to this day, probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life. And I'm prone to sleep paralysis kind of stuff where I feel like I'm awake but I can't move. That's normal for me, but I don't generally hallucinate during them.
Right. Yeah, I've never had, I had sleep paralysis when I was much younger. At least I think it was. Because when I was younger, I had this dark figure always around, and it would always come into my dreams. I remember one night when we were living in the trailer, they had painted the walls, so they had us out of our beds and had us in the middle of the floor while the walls dried. Now thinking back on it, probably not the best place to have your kids sleep while the paint's drying. The fumes and all, But I could say that maybe I was having some chemical hallucination to that, except for I woke up in the middle of the night and it was a black figure. This is the first time I remember seeing it, and I think I was around 3 or 4. And it was the first time I remember seeing this, and it stood over me, haunched over me like a push-up, like it was doing a push-up. And I remember just looking at it because I don't think I was fully awake yet. And then it reached over and pinched my arm really, really hard. And then I screamed. And then as soon as I screamed, it got up and scurried away out of my room and into the hallway and into a room on the right, which later turned out to be a bathroom. I remember my mom coming in, turned on the light, and she's like, well, what the fuck? What's going on? And I screamed. I told her. She's like, there's no one here. There's no one here. And I pointed exactly where it had pinched me, and I had a mark, and it was bleeding. And to this day, I use, well, so let's say for years and years after, I had a scar from that time. And I don't remember exactly when this figure stopped showing up, but eventually my scar went away, and I can't tell where it would have been by now. I know it was on my right side of my arm, middle forearm, but I can't see exactly where it was anymore. But that figure has, until semi-recently, hasn't shown up much. And I don't know if I told you guys about this. This would have been probably last year. I think I either talked about it on the podcast or I talked about it with you guys personally over here. But there was a night where I just woke up in the middle of the night around 3 a.m. and just felt that the corner of my room, that area was darker than the rest. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
That was the first time that dark figure had visited me in years. And that's the best way that I could experience or explain it. And, I'm not really one of the type of guy that gets scared to the point where I'm like, I'm freaked out and I have to like wake other people up because I'm being a baby. But I saw it, and it was darker than the rest of the room, and where it was at was where my computer and where I'm sitting right now. And that's usually lit up with the keyboard, with the background RGBs from the tower. And it was just darker over there than everywhere else. So I woke Sienna up because I couldn't stop looking at it. And I woke her up at 3 a.m. and asked her to look because it was still there as I woke up. And I was like, I'm starting to like get paranoid. I'm like, there's something there. So she turned on her light and I turned on my phone flashlight and there was nothing there. And I sat there with the light on at 3 a.m. for about 35 minutes and was like, I can't fucking sleep. I was like, dude, I can't believe this just happened again. Like, I haven't seen this thing since before Sienna. And I was like, I've done and I've dabbled in like healing magic stuff, just trying it, seeing whatever. And I did a cleansing at one point, and I think that maybe that worked, the cleansing. But recently we just went through the house, and I just put this together a week or so ago when we started talking about these stories. But recently we went across the house, and I had cleansing like sigils on the entries of every doorway. And we just went through the whole house and sanded everything down and cleaned everything up, washed the walls and repainted. And I washed all that shit off. And I don't know if that had to do with it. It could be a complete, who knows? But I just wanted to say that. That was one of my most recent experiences that kind of like creeped me out. But the Red Woman, did that follow you around for years? Or was that just like that one
just
time?
Just to be damn. I've had other ones that I don't want to bring up because they're gone finally, that did follow me around for years.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
that one,
now that you say that, now I'm going to get all paranoid tonight, and it's going to come back. Like, I'm going to have to cleanse my room. I actually did burn sage that night.
Yeah, it's...
Like, I got up with the light and burned sage, opened the door, went through my magic hoodoo books, and looked for some cleaning spells.
I really don't...
So...
And I don't understand... Like, usually I can kind of, like, pinpoint when it started, but the Red Woman, it was like a one and done, and it was... Usually, if I see something, like, it's spooky, I'm uncomfortable. But this one was like... I literally thought I was going to die that night.
Yeah, with a lot of spooky experiences, a lot of the times your mind, like at least in my experience, you could push it off and be like, yeah, well, whatever. It's just something. But like with the figure that I explained, I couldn't.
Yeah, no.
It's almost like it wouldn't let me.
And I've had
push it out of my mind.
I've had occasional dreams about the dreams, but I haven't I've had dreams where I woke up from having the dreams and then was terrified, but I haven't experienced the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just so traumatizing that I now also have dreams about it.
The most traumatizing dreams are me waking up in high school. Like, my head gets up out of high school desk, like I took a nap, and I'm 31, and I'm still in high school, and I'm like, why am I here? I was, like, crying in my dream, like, why am I here? What the fuck? I should be gone by now.
I do have another creepy camping story. I've been kind of looking for
a story, too.
I've been kind of looking as we go along. So this one is from Scotty's My Name Duh. Scotty's My Name Duh. Haha. I was camping in Northeast Ohio by myself. I was on a third and final night there. Woke up to piss, walked about 10 feet from my hammock, and noticed a headlamp about 80 to 100 feet from me. I watched it for 5 to 10 minutes. I watched him stand up, sit down. I got my boots on, grabbed my hatchet, and started to walk to the right of my campsite. I was going to find out what he was up to. I got about 50 yards from my site and started walking towards him when I noticed another headlamp about 40 feet from me and walking around. I hit the ground and threw some leaves on me. He walked about 10 feet from where I was laying. Then he stopped, lit a cigarette, and finished his beer. He threw his can on the ground. After he got far enough that he couldn't hear me, I got up and started walking towards the first guy. I got close enough to see him, and I could hear... Sorry, this guy's thing, he stumbles around a lot. I got close enough to him that I can hear his phone receiving messages. I moved up closer to him quietly to where I could see his face lit up from his cell phone. That's when he stood up and started walking towards my hammock. I laid there on the ground for a minute and made my way towards my site. I stopped when I started hearing my tarp that I had above my hammock being trashed. Then I can see flashlights, and then my big flashlight turn on and off. I heard my mess kit being thrown and them talking about how he was just here. I laid on the ground and watched my flashlight walk away until it was small, dim light. Then the sun came up and I returned. My whole site was destroyed. My hammock and tarp were shredded by what looked like a machete. My mess kit was stomped on. They took my backpack, rain gear, and my flashlight. I went to the spot where I'd seen the first guy and found chew pouches, 8 empty beer can, and an empty lighter. I walked to where I seen the other guy and found an empty bag with white powder, which according to the police turned out to be meth, a mess of cigarette butts, and a pile of shit with no toilet paper to be found. That's it. That was the end of his story.
Oh, yeah. That's why you gotta pack.
You gotta pack, dude.
You gotta be packing.
Yeah.
Dude, and it is. It's most of the time it is people that are the scariest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have a strong mind, I think people who, if you push away the scary cryptid stuff and you have a strong mind and reasoning, I think you are less susceptible, but people who believe more are more open to it spiritually, are just more open to being fucked with. So like at that point, it doesn't matter though, because people are people. So Mark, why don't you do yours? I think I have one, and then I don't know if I talked about this on our original Creepypasta, my quote-unquote original Bigfoot experience / Dogman.
You definitely
you've
talked about it with me.
About on Paja? Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I did on Creepypasta though, so if I did, just tell me after, I guess.
Yeah.
But we'll let Mark go. And then I have one or two more stories, and then we're good.
So this is on Quora by Anonymous. When I was around 14 to 15 years old, my best friend and I decided to camp in the woods by my farm. I had a dog that followed me everywhere, and he came along. He was just an old farm dog, but fearless. We hauled some supplies and a tent to the chosen location, started a campfire, and broke out the snacks. It was a warm summer night with all the stars out. There were farm fields all around us, so we made barricades with tree branches and limbs to keep cattle from entering our campground. We crawled into our sleeping bags around midnight, just as the campfire was burning out. I could see the embers of the fire in front of our doorless tent. My dog was right at the opening. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up to my friend poking me and motioning to be silent. I could hear something stepping on fallen leaves and branches all around our barricade. Then I heard my furious dog whimpering and ran off. My friend whispered, "Let's get out of here." I whispered back, "I'd rather stay there than walk through the woods in the middle of the night." About then, something on two legs walked up to the tent and stood between us and the campfire. We just froze. We lay there silent for a long time and eventually went back to sleep. In the morning, we realized that something had been there, went through our bags, broken down the barriers, and took some of our stuff in the pitch black darkness in the woods. It freaked us out. We were never camped out there again.
Yep. One thing that I used to do when I first started camping that I always thought I'd do again, but I always forget, is I get a few hundred yards of paracord, or I will get a few hundred yards of fishing line, which I always had on me. Mm-hmm. And then I usually had my tackle box, so I would set up catfish bells, the ones that you put on the end of your pole. Then you cast your pole out, and then you put your bells on there. And if the pole ever moves, the bells jingle. And they're just clamps that go along the pole. When I first started camping, I would actually set those around my camp in a perimeter, so that if something bigger than a rabbit or something came through the camp, I would hear it immediately. I stopped doing it eventually because I just started losing the bells, and I was too lazy to go buy more. But I'd just lose a bell here or there or something, and but it definitely. I think there was a deer one night, and it tripped the bell, and it hit the bell so hard that the whole perimeter jangled, and it scared the shit out of me. But it also scared the shit out of that deer or whatever it was that was big enough to hit it. And that fucking thing was gone. But it worked. It just, I just eventually just got lazy. And then as I got more experienced and stuff, I just was like, I don't need it. So it is something that you can do, and it is relatively cheap. You could use cans. A lot of people do cans. Looks like Alex has voicemail. Good.
Voicemail.
We'll do the last two stories, and we'll shut it down on the voicemail.
Why don't you save the last two stories? Because we only have 10 minutes left. And I want to do another one of these.
Okay. Okay, let me do this one, because this is a person one. This isn't a cryptid, but it's kind of scary, and it's quick. I think I have the creepiest story. We used to have a stationary caravan on a campground right at the Northern Sea. The campground is very small. There's 40 to 50 caravans stationed there, and few empty slots for people with tents. We stayed there for a holiday one year, and some reason we left a day earlier than we had planned. I can't remember if we got sick or what. But in that particular night, someone got murdered right next to our caravan. It was two women sleeping in a rented caravan, and the ex-boyfriend of one of those women went out to that campground that night and stabbed his ex and her friend. They dragged themselves out of the caravan and died right next to our caravan. Our caravan was on the first page of all the newspapers, was in the news on TV. It was crazy. And hadn't we left a day early, we would have seen and heard that woman die.
Terrifying.
So, Yeah, so I wanted to put that one out there because that would be absolutely crazy. They're saying caravan, so I'm assuming they're like European.
Yeah.
Because we would have just said trailers or RVs or whatever, but I'm assuming they were talking about it like a trailer park, not a trailer park, but like a campground where they have power trailers or RVs or whatever. But yeah, that's fucking nuts that they just barely missed out on that. And if they saw it, very possible that guy would have came after them too, if the guy saw that they did. So crazy. All right, let's get to the voicemail.
All right, get it all ready here. All right, you guys ready? This is from, who do you think it's from?
Yep.
Wreck-It Rob?
Wreck-It Rob.
All right, here we go.
What's up, guys? Wreck-It Rob here, listening to the house tour episode. And to be honest, I know you guys don't want to hear this, but it sounds like Northern California is where you guys want to be. And when I say that, I want you guys to realize that Northern California is not the California that you guys know about in the news and whatnot. I don't lock my doors. I don't even think I have a key to my house. Up above me, it's more and more rural. Hell, I don't even have smog at my house unless it's right when I purchase a vehicle. There's a couple videos on YouTube. I just watched one the other day where they talked about there's only 400,000 people that live in the considered Northern California. Lots of people consider Santa Rosa to be Northern California. Hell, even some idiots say that San Francisco is NorCal. It's not. Oakland is not NorCal. Richmond is not NorCal. Silicon Valley is not NorCal. Northern California essentially starts right about at my house. I think you guys should check into that. See if you can look up that video. I'll see if I can find it again and send it to one of you. It's not super wet. It's not super dry. It's not super tweaky. I think you guys would like it. And there's plenty of off-road trails. And other states to visit closely. I mean, my mom lives in Oregon, and she's only 6 hours away from me. And I kind of want to live further north. So, yeah, I just thought I'd tell you guys to check up on that. All right. Talk to you guys later. I'm out.
All right, I don't know if Wreck-It Rob was like in a tunnel or what, but that voicemail was so like it would break up here and there.
Is it like that normally, or did it just come across on the recording like that?
It's kind of like that normally. You can get
you
can understand what he's saying though. But yeah,
I was gonna say, is there a transcript?
Yeah, kind of parts of it.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounded like he was saying Northern California is actually a pretty decent place.
For sure.
I think he was referring to you talking about Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think, last message where someone said Idaho might be the best place. And after looking at some of the houses in Idaho, that was kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so on his...
And don't get me wrong,
he says,
Northern California, people-wise, like environment-wise, phenomenal. It's really expensive compared to other parts of this country. And just the fact that you do have smog rules, even if it's just when you buy the vehicle, you still have smog rules. And I don't own a vehicle that I don't own a single vehicle that would clear because even the Ford's deleted.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
think
anything
my truck will clear
inspections.
either because of the second air intake being gone now.
Yeah.
I think mine would, but like, my other cars wouldn't have and inspections too, for rust and shit. Oh yeah, we would have been fucked.
Forerunner with all its patchwork of frame patches.
Oh yeah.
My chop subframe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Towards the end of the transcript, he says we should check out that area. He's going to see if he can look up the video, find it again. It's not super wet. It's not super dry. It's not super tweaky. I'm thinking he's talking
Me
tweakers. I think you guys will like it. There's plenty of off-road trails and other states to visit closely. My mom lives in Oregon. She's only 6 hours away from me, and I kind of want to move further north. So yeah, I just thought I'd tell you guys, check up on that. All right, talk to you guys later. Oh,
I guess my dogs want to be
Someone
part
just
of
opened
it.
the door.
yes. Well, someone's there. But yeah, that's I'd be interested in Northern California. Just things are so expensive.
Yeah.
And I know it's like that in Washington, Oregon. So I think I found the perfect area, and let's see if you guys like it. You guys, as in Marks and listeners, since Alex is gone.
Oh, he's coming back. We won't wait.
But yeah, we'll wait for 5 seconds till he comes back. 3,
Yep, I gotta
2,
go.
1. He's good. Okay. So he's gonna go, and then I'm just gonna wrap this up.
I'll
real quick.
wrap it up right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I want to do the Idaho Panhandle. It's the smallest part of Idaho. You have the rules and laws of Idaho, but in a couple hours you could be out of Idaho and into like the Oregon, Washington area, or what is that, Montana or Dakotas? Colorado on the other side of Idaho. I don't even remember. But it allows you to travel. Yeah, it allows you to travel to multiple different states.
I'll ask you again.
Being in the
look at a map.
Panhandle. Yeah,
Montana.
I'll look at a map. Montana. Okay, I was right. But yeah, you could travel to Montana relatively quickly, to Oregon, to Washington relatively quickly,
You got
and being in the
Alberta.
Idaho Panhandle.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
British
So
Columbia.
so you get the best of both worlds, and you get the laws of Idaho. So, which I think is what Castle Doctrine and all that. So, yeah. So I think that's the perfect area. I found this cool little tree house, out in the middle of nowhere, and it was really dope. And the prices aren't bad in Idaho. You know, they're about similar to Michigan. So, anyway, let me know, listeners, what you think. Idaho Panhandle,
I
best of all
think
worlds.
you should move to Alaska.
I wanted to when I was younger, but I think genuinely at this point, I am honest with myself to know that I don't want to go full bush Alaskan anymore.
I do.
Like I did. Like I wanted to do like the whole bus thing, bush Alaskan. But after meeting Sienna, after kind of like being honest with myself, like I do like modern amenities a little bit. So like I don't want to be fully off grid. I want to be away from, people, but I don't want to be fully off grid. So I want to have the capability to be if shit hit the fan, but I don't want to have to be. So I like a good 15 to 30 minute drive to a grocery store. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with that being said, we're almost at a minute. I think we're good, right?
You mean an hour? This has been a really long minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Really long. Longest minute of our days.
All right.
All right. Well, on that, thanks for listening to another episode of Creepypasta. And we'll have another one here in the next couple months. If you guys have any stories that you would like us to hear, leave us a voice message. Send us a message
For
on
sure.
Instagram. All of our Instagrams are connected. If you have a creepy story or a scary story, something bad that happened that you want to talk about, we will read it out here, like a voicemail or anything else. So,
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you later.
Later.